What's up with everybody? It's your man Mario B.
And Nicole.
And we're back at it with some more reaction videos, baby. So yeah, man, this is another special video request from Matthew Mann. Matthew Mann wanted us to check out
Top 10 horrifying facts about the Genghis Khan.
Yeah, man, this is about the channel Top 10s. Make sure to check them out. I heard a little bit about Genghis Khan, but I don't really know too much about him.
I don't either, so.
But it's gonna be pretty interesting. Would like to say, Matthew Mann, thank you for your support, your continued support, and we're gonna dive right to it.
Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Top 10's Net, and in the video today, we're looking at the top 10 brutal facts about the merciless Genghis Khan.
Hello, it's more tripping.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on?
Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Top 10's Net, and in the video today, we're looking at the top.
Oh, sorry. Go down just a little bit, so I'm having no problems with it.
Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Top 10's Net, and in the video today, we're looking at the top 10 brutal facts about the merciless Genghis Khan.
Merciless.
Merciless.
Number 10. Genghis Khan had molten silver poured into an enemy leader's ears. There are many stories about the legendary brutality of Genghis Khan and his murderous exploits. Most of them tell a similar story of Khan asking enemies to surrender and then completely annihilating them and their families and friends if they refused. The Khan was proud of his murderous rampages and felt that the terror they inspired should be helpful in causing more enemies to join his side without him losing any men. While these campaigns of terror were business as usual for the Khan, many people didn't realize that if you made him feel personally insulted, he could be even more brutal and punishing than you could imagine.
Sheesh.
A large city led by a noble named, and I'm not sure about the pronunciation here, but Inulchuk, he was in the way of Khan's conquest, and the Khan was in a very incensed mood. Years before, he had sent a large caravan of 500 men in the hopes of creating more trade routes in the region. Inulchuk had the entire caravan decimated and spurned the Khan's peace offering completely. So it was that the Khan killed the entire civilian population, utterly wrecked all remnants of the city, and killed the hated leader by having molten silver poured into his eyes and ears.
This is one of the
oldest examples of someone being brutally punished for shooting the messenger.
That is horrible, man.
The Khan would clearly not tolerate. Number 9. The Mongols could not shed noble blood, but the alternatives were more brutal. The Mongols may have been known for killing scores of people without even trying and for their brilliant combat tactics, but they also had certain honor rules even in times of war and murder. One of these ancient rules was that they could not spill noble blood. They took this very seriously, and if someone they had captured was of noble birth, they would not stab them, slash them, or kill them in any other normal wartime manner. However, this by no means meant that the noble was spared an awful and gruesome death. In fact, it would almost seem as if the Mongols followed the letter of the rule, but were showing their open contempt for it by trying to creatively punish their enemies as much as possible. If a noble was lucky, the Mongols who captured him would simply snap his neck. Quick, clean and simple. However, that was one of the rare methods.
I guess they get it done with
to suffocate nobles, which is more painful and prolonged than a quick beheading. These may not seem that bad, but the most brutal was when they captured a large Russian force that had surrendered to them. Most of them were nobles, so they could not execute them in the normal manner. Instead, they confiscated their helpless enemies' weapons, laid their captives under a wooden platform, and then stood on top of the platform and literally partied their enemies to death. We can't even imagine how horrific such a death would be, but it certainly sounds like one of the most metal things ever. Number 8. Genghis Khan killed his half-brother as a child over a hunting dispute. When Genghis Khan was a child, his family was at odds with their clan and they were basically living on their own. His mother was taking care of 4 of her own children and 2 stepchildren, struggling just to make sure that everyone was fed. From a young age, Genghis, known in his early days as Temujin, learned that he would have to fight and kill for what he needed to get by. While Genghis helped feed his family, he didn't always agree with how food should be apportioned, and he especially found himself fighting with his half-brother, a child near his own age. One day, the two had a serious argument over some food that young Genghis had caught, and he took the dispute to his mother. To the anger of young Genghis, the mother actually sided against him, and he left in a cold rage. While his half-brother was minding his own business with no idea what was coming, Genghis and his younger brother snuck up on their half-brother and killed him with their bows. When their mother found out, she was devastated and furious, but there would never be any consequence for their actions. Genghis is said to have never had any remorse whatsoever for the murder. In his eyes, it was justified. It was also likely the first taste of what would become a habit that he simply couldn't stop. Number 7. The Khan left a greater death toll in his wake than Joseph Stalin. Genghis Khan is not always as remembered as many brutal historical figures. Many people forget that the Great Khan's rampage left such a path of destruction that he irrevocably destroyed entire empires and enormous populations as a matter of habit. In recent days, people have pointed out that Stalin was responsible for somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 million deaths, which would make him more brutal than the Nazis. But he doesn't even hold a candle to the brutality of the Mongols under their leadership of the Khan. According to historical estimates, the Khan was responsible for the deaths of roughly 40 million people, and he was glad to boost those numbers whenever he got the chance. He likely felt that advertising his brutality was actually a good way to keep people afraid and more likely to submit. However, despite being an incredibly brutal murderer, the Khan was not entirely without mercy. He preferred to win without a blow simply by using his reputation, so he would always give his enemies a chance to join his empire first. In some cases, he even sent multiple emissaries before he went on a rampage and massacred their civilians and everything that had ever been a part of their culture or existence. The directive from the Khan was simple: join him or die. Many chose to defy this mandate from Genghis Khan, and he made them and their entire populations pay with their lives. Number 6. The Khan turned a dangerous enemy archer into a useful long-term ally. Before long, the Khan's brutal, multi-continent spanning rampage was becoming a thing of legend, and his reputation began to precede him wherever he went. In battle, he was known for being an insanely fierce warrior and nigh untouchable in skill. There are many versions of the following legends, but they are all about an enemy archer named Jebe who caught the eye of Genghis Khan. The Mongols were fighting against an enemy clan when disaster nearly struck. An arrow struck the Khan's horse, putting him in a very dangerous position. However, the Mongols quickly turned the tide and sent the enemy clan running in fear for their lives, except for the archer, who had nearly shot the Khan himself. He rode bravely and boldly into the camp, asking to address the Khan himself. He admitted that he himself had shot the Khan's horse, and that he would accept his death for this deed if he wished, but if he were to spare him, he would serve him as a loyal warrior. Some versions of the story claim that the arrow actually hit and injured the Khan himself, or at least struck his armor, and some even claim that the Khan lied down to protect his pride, and the archer was bold enough to correct him. Whichever version is correct, it is known that the Khan decided to spare the archer and kept him in his army as one of the top commanders from that day. While the Khan may have been extremely brutal and often merciless, he was smart enough not to turn down an amazing ally when he saw one.
Guess so.
Number 5. One of his Mongol enemies was known for boiling captured generals alive. While Genghis Khan was known for being many things, merciful was certainly not one of them. As we have mentioned, he was all too happy to brutally murder enemies and civilians who had peacefully surrendered. However, before Genghis Khan united the Mongols and began his true reign of conquest, he had rivals among the Mongols for leadership, and some of them were just as insane and barbaric as he was. One of them was known as Jamuka, and once, after achieving great victory, it was said that he burned the enemy generals in 70 cauldrons. Some scholars are unsure whether that's supposed to be an exact number, whether the cauldrons only held one person each, or whether it was simply meant to suggest a lot.
But this stuff is so torturous,
legendary
man.
that it supposedly caused some people to turn their support to Genghis, despite his own brutality. This could be because burning alive, while fitting within the rules of ways to kill nobles, is actually much more drawn out and horrific than Genghis's usual punishments for nobles. The Khan had enemies' backs broken, there was the molten silver incident, and the mass trampling, but arguably all of these are less barbaric than boiling your enemy alive. It's been described as being so horrific that many watching in Europe when it was first instituted as a punishment fainted in shock and had to be carried away. The screams were allegedly horrific, and the sight of what it did to the human body was something that most people could not stand.
I could not.
Genghis Khan humiliated and enslaved people of other religions. Many people like to point out that Genghis Khan actively talked to and sought advice from holy men of all different religions, including Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, and Taoism. Some people like to claim that this is evidence of him being more of a humanitarian. However, in this case, people are forgetting that the man was a brutal and merciless tyrant. While he may have been smart enough to learn about his enemies and all of their ways, he never showed any evidence in his life or rule of having the slightest bit of religious tolerance whatsoever. In fact, he had a special contempt for Jewish and Muslim people, whom he openly referred to as slaves and humiliated by not allowing them to follow their own customs. He proclaimed that the Mongolians had conquered them, but they refused to eat Mongolian food. To the Khan, this was a complete affront to him. He had conquered them and allowed them to live within his kingdom, but they would only prepare food and eat it their way. He forbade them to eat any food that was not prepared by Mongolians, disallowing them from their customs. Muslims were not allowed to kill a sheep, and if they were caught, they would be guilty of a serious crime. Jewish people were also forbidden from following their practice of circumcision. As far as the Khan was concerned, if you lived in his kingdom, you followed his rules. It was likely that his study of other religions was mostly about learning how to better rule his enemies, as he had no patience for coexisting with other religions' quirks and differences. Number 3, he had his men used captured enemy bodies as shields in combat. In relatively recent history, Stalin used captured enemy soldiers, as well as his own country's convicted prisoners, as human shields in combat during World War II. While
That's crazy, so
diabolical
you use
and
them as
evil, it
shields.
was also an effective strategy for the ruthless tyrant. During a very expensive war, he was able to rid himself of prisoners of all kinds who would be expensive to hold and use them instead as a way to win battles. While this may seem like one of the worst things done in history, it's certainly not the first time people have used human shields in combat. Throughout history, there have been many examples where prisoners or captured populations are forced to fight at the front lines of war. But before many of them had ever considered it, the Khan had already used and perfected the strategy. The Khan was selective when he came to who he would use as human shields for combat. Sometimes he would execute enemy soldiers who had surrendered expecting good treatment, and at other times, if they were truly skilled and had the right attitude, he might let them join his army. However, when he was in the mood, he would have his men take large numbers of surrendered enemy soldiers and force them to fight at the front lines. His men would go to the captured soldiers to fight as well as possible, and if they did, they were not put to the sword. They could prolong their deaths only by fighting for the Khan and his forces as well as they possibly could, and perhaps if they truly showed their worth, they could earn a rightful place in his forces. Number 2. While massacring a city and its population, he declared himself sent by God to punish them. While on his brutal rampage through the Khwarezmian Empire, he came upon the city of Samarkand. He was in an angry mood and ready to pounce and destroy anyone who got in his way. He had just come from the city of H0RRIFYING, where he had killed the guy with molten silver. In his rage, he also declared to the inhabitants that he had been sent by God himself to punish them. He then absolutely annihilated all of the population and wiped the city off the face of the earth.
Oh my god.
When he came to Samarkand, he met heavy resistance by well over 100,000 soldiers, but he eventually managed to wear them down by cutting off their water supply, bringing them down by slow attrition, and eventually breaking into the city proper. Some accounts claim that when Genghis Khan and his men razed the city, the soldiers found any pregnant women and stabbed them and removed the fetuses they found within. This could possibly be hyperbole by the writers of the story, hoping perhaps to make the Khan look evil, either to increase his reputation or to hurt it, but it would not be unsurprising if true, considering the Mongols' overall brutality. Some reports say that nearly 500,000 people were either killed or forced to flee the city, and when the Mongol rampage was finished, not even ruins remained. Number 1. The sacking of Urgench was arguably the most brutal and thorough massacre in history. Urgench was the last stop on the Great Khan slaughter of the Khwarezmian Empire, and they put up an absolutely ferocious fight. Normally the Khan could dominate his enemies in a short amount of time, but the battle dragged on for 6 months. Records say that even after they actually got inside the city, they were unable to begin looting and plundering as they normally did. The inside of the city was fortified, and the enemy fought using guerrilla warfare techniques from every house in the city. The Mongols quickly grew tired of this and decided that they needed to take more drastic measures. They decided that if they couldn't find all of the men who were hiding inside the city, they would just burn the entire city down. Upon the city being turned into a burned hulk of its original glory, the surviving enemy soldiers still continued to defy the Khan's forces. They knew ignominious death awaited them if they were captured by the Mongol forces, so they continued their defense to the death. The Khan allegedly had a dam diverted to flood and destroy what was left, and declared that any remaining civilian or soldier still alive was to be murdered, with no exceptions whatsoever. While it's unclear whether it's hyperbole or not, some sources say that the final massacre amounted to over 1 million people. If this is true, it would be one of the most massive genocides in a short period of time in the history of mankind.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
I know. I mean, I knew of Genghis Khan, like you said, like I've heard stories, but I didn't know to this level.
I knew he was a horrible person, but I didn't know it was like to this level. What year was he born in? What century?
I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, this dude was crazy, man.
It had to have been, I would say, in the first few centuries.
Yes, I was thinking.
AD? I mean, BC?
Yeah.
No, AD. Sorry.
I don't know for sure.
I think.
It could have been like 1400s, 1500s. I don't know.
No, I think earlier.
Like earlier.
Because I don't know. Some
Yeah,
of those
probably
other
been
videos
like
that we're
11,
watching
1200,
because
yeah.
it kept pushing like the Assyrians down. Remember it was the Mongols.
Okay, was it
Yeah.
Genghis Khan? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I thought that was earlier, but I might be wrong. I don't remember.
Yeah, let us know in the comment section, guys.
Yeah.
This guy, like, boiling people alive.
Oh,
That is
gosh.
horrible.
I can't even. I mean, burning someone at the stake is bad enough.
Yeah.
Boiling, I feel like it's even worse because
Yeah.
that's like slower
Yeah, it is slower, man. It's
than like flame. I would think.
Yeah, slower than
I
flame.
would think that it would be slower.
Because even with the flames, you can still die from like
The
the
smoke
smoke
inhalation, yeah.
But this, you just boiling,
You're,
like
you're
yeah,
gonna
you were
just
like
basically
you're
burn
suffering.
until your body,
Yeah.
Oh, I can't think about it. That's
Yeah.
so horrible.
And they also said that some people will like just leave out because it was just so horrible.
Yeah, it said like pretty much no one could sit there and watch it.
Yeah, they could. I mean, I couldn't.
That's disgusting. I can't
And then
even imagine.
it said something about he'll just like the babies, the pregnant women, he'll just stab them in the stomach when he went through the city. I think that was the second one they was talking about.
Yeah, that was the most recent
Yeah,
one.
that
And they're
is-
talking
yeah.
about because
Stab
it
the
was
fetus.
like they basically were eradicating populations of people.
Yeah. But they didn't give a crap, boy.
No.
This guy was
They didn't.
crazy. And they said he killed over maybe 40 million people. Because they said Stalin probably had a body count of 20 million, but this guy had 40 million.
I just can't imagine just being like that and killing people, like being so ruthless and having no qualm about it. I just
Yeah.
don't get that. It's just insane to me.
This boy made Hitler like doo-doo, man.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so-
Well, but I also think that might be wrong, but I think his reign was a lot longer. So, like, if
Yeah.
Hitler had been going on for longer,
Oh, yeah,
then
he
it
probably
would
would
be
have
a
more of a
different
body count. Yeah, Hitler only did it like, what, in
Like,
2
he
3
was stopped,
years. Yeah, he was
thankfully.
stopped, yeah.
So, kind of
Yeah.
same sort of with Stalin. I feel like Stalin was able to get away with it for a long time.
Yeah. What do you think about Genghis Khan? I mean, in today's world, there's no way he can, like, if he was born today, he like with all the technology we
Yeah.
have in other countries, you know, it's no way he'll be able to do this
Yeah, I
type
don't
stuff.
think so.
And a whole lot of these, like these people back then, they won't be able to do what they did in today's world now.
Right.
It just
I
won't
just think
be
they get
possible.
stopped quicker.
Yeah, they get stopped
There's
quicker and
more-
stuff.
There's more.
Countries that are
There's
united.
more powers in the world than there were then. I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like
more.
There are multiple different.
Yeah, because like you know they conquering stuff, you know, on land.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got other countries that are like allies, they can just come together with their planes and just okay, we want to take them out.
Right.
Just like Alexander the Great, there's no way he would have conquered today's world that easy. Even if he had
Mm-hmm.
the military power, he wouldn't be able to do it because you would have other country allies who would just took him out and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Right. Yep.
So they was able to do this because the technology they had, and you know, even though they was great battle leaders, they was great leaders, but it's no way they do it in today's world, you know. But all of them guys was like horrible, man.
Mm-hmm.
We just want to conquer the world, man. Everybody just want to conquer the world. They want
Greed.
people to submit to them, you know. And if you don't, they'll kill you, which is crazy, you know. But I don't know. Kind of wonder how he died. Did he die of old age?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I know that one.
Yeah. But yeah, man, Matthew, man, great video, man. Very interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, I would like to say again, thank you for your support and your video requests. But we about to go read this video. If you want to leave us a special video request, check out the links to our Streamlabs. They'll be in our description and our video course, and also provide your link and keep the video under 12 minutes and provide your email as well.
And if you want to support our channel, come be a part of the merch fam. Link is in the description and the video cards.
Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe,
Thumbs it up.
turn on notification. It's your memory B.
And Nicole.
We're gonna catch you on the next video. Awesome. Peace and love, baby.